It's time for the best coverage of the top stories in sports. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page starts now.
Happy Wednesday. Good to have you all with us. Middle of the week. Sports Wrap. Lots to do over the next 60 minutes. Nick Ferguson will drop by in 20 minutes. Talk about the NFL, former safety. Get his thoughts on the Russell Wilson, Sean Payton back and forth that we've been hearing about. Also, that stirring Broncos rally to beat the Giants over the weekend, and a whole bunch more from the world of football. But we start things out in the NBA today and bring in our friend Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, who hangs out with us. And while the open to our show is wonderful and stirring, and I know it gives you all goosebumps, nothing quite does it for me like Round Ball Rock and the NBA returning to NBC. And it was like an old friend coming back into your life last night, Kurt, watching Mike Tirico, do the game and the music. And I thought it went off really well. And again, I don't have any reason to suck up to NBC. I worked for the company years ago. I don't have any reason to suck up to them. I thought it all came off really well last night, though.
I only got to see some of the production because I was at the second game of the night. But I'd seen it going in, and I thought the intro was and they did a really nice job of. Look, you get some nostalgia, but we're not going to live there. We're gonna kind of bring this into a modern era. You're going to get your Round Ball Rock. In fact, I'm just going to say when they did the meetings in Stamford about 2 days of meetings, that song intro and exited everything. So I've heard my share of it now. I'm like, I got my full fill, but I thought they hit all the right notes. And I really, by the way, the studio show with Tracy McGrady and Vince Carter and Carmelo Anthony and there's a natural chemistry there that was fun, that wasn't kind of wasn't inside the NBA. It's a different style of chemistry. It's a different style of thing, but it really absolutely worked. It wasn't kind of going for shock value. They were just talking about the game, which is, hey, that's fun. Let's talk about basketball for a while. That sometimes that's gotten away from the NBA in recent years.
Yeah, it was kind of cool after the Laker game ended, or at halftime of the Laker game. They had the halftime show planned, and they went back to Oklahoma City, and there was Chet Holmgren, who just happened to pop by the set while they were doing, and they basically threw out the whole halftime script and chatted with him and got a look at those fancy rings that the Thunder got. Speaking of the Thunder, that's a spot where they could easily lose last night. Yeah. The ring ceremony, the banner being raised, the long delay before the game starts. And they sort of played like that in the first half. And then in the second half, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander decides to show up. He had 5 points going into the half. He shows up in the second half, and Kevin Durant inexplicably disappears in the fourth quarter of this game. They're not getting him the ball late. They clearly need a point guard and need to fix that situation already in Houston. What did you make of opening night with the Rockets and the Thunder?
First, with Oklahoma City, look, you know how you get one of those banners and those undersized rings? You have grit. You cannot win a championship, frankly, in any sport. I don't care if we're talking about the NFL or, the World Series coming up or whatever. You've got to show grit. You've got to show some toughness over the course of the season. And they did that. Look, Gilgeous-Alexander had 24 of his 35 in the fourth and the overtimes. When it came time to be an MVP, he was absolutely the MVP. And I think you're right about Houston in that, look, it was fun watching Amen Thompson kind of blow by guys. He is a handful to deal with the ball in his hands, but he's not a floor general. And Reed Shepherd, I saw him at Summer League, and this is what I was concerned about. I'm not sure he's ready for the moment yet. And so I'm curious, we'll see. It's one game against, the defending champions. We're not going to go too far down the rabbit hole. Şengün was brilliant, and maybe you can run more through him. But at some point, you need a floor general. You need somebody to organize this thing. And if Thompson can't grow into that role pretty quickly, they're going to have to look around at the deadline. And that, by the way, was one of my bold predictions for the season. So I'm going to that they're going to go get somebody at the deadline, that they're going to realize they need it.
I actually do want to go down that rabbit hole, though, for just 1 second, because it's something that's been plaguing my mind with regard to this Oklahoma City team. When we've talked about teams that go on multiple championship runs within a 5-year stretch in the past in the NBA, it seems like there's always an underlying narrative of, well, they got an extra long season every single year, so it's going to be hard to sustain that year in and year out. But coming into this year, the Oklahoma City Thunder are priced far and away differently than every other team to win the championship, Kurt. Does this seem like a team to you that is built with what it takes to build that dynasty? Can they maintain a championship run for 2, 3, even 4 years in a row?
Look, I think they're going to win 3 of the next 5, and it's really just it's a matter of age, really. I think they're not only very good, and they've set themselves up with 2 things. I mean, the oldest guy is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's 26, or did he turn 27 yet? But either way, he's basically entering his prime. Chet Holmgren and you remember Jalen Williams didn't play last night. They're on their rookie contracts for another year. And when those things kick in and it gets really expensive, they have 6,000 draft picks to either trade for guys that they can get on a contract. There's stuff they can do to put themselves in a good position. I think for as long as a dynasty can last in the modern NBA, I think they're poised to do it. I picked Denver this year. I think Denver's really good. There's going to be challenges for them, but their age, and the other thing is the vibe around them. I don't see the hangover. I don't think we're going to get the hangover we got even from Boston last year, which didn't seem like a team that would have a great one. I think we're kind of bored by the regular season. I'm not sure Oklahoma City is going to be there yet. And, man, A.J. Mitchell, 6th man of the year, former Gaucho. Let's go.
How on earth did Kevin Durant get away with calling a timeout when they didn't have any? I can't wait to see the last 2-minute report on that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It did certainly set the Thunder off rightfully, because that was he absolutely called for a timeout.
Yeah,
and the referee absolutely ignored him and just didn't call him. We're we didn't call it.
But I wonder if it was because I don't think they ignored it. I think this happens in a lot of instances where you have that split second, and it was just literally before the end of regulation. I don't think anybody intentionally ignored it. I just think they figured it was so close to the end of regulation that they just weren't going to grant it. That's all I think it was.
That's possible. I mean, I'm not going to. I'm going to save jumping in the referees' heads for 2 weeks into the season, but let's go. But it is possible. There's a lot in that moment, and they expected it to just end there. So I think there was that pause.
All right, we got more to do with Kurt. There was another game last night, and there'll be a bunch of games tonight and tomorrow. The NBA season is here, and we're talking about it on SportsWrap. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the show. In 10 minutes, Nick Ferguson drops by, the former NFL safety. Get his thoughts on a whole bunch of football items. Denver sports radio host as well. Kurt Helin hangs out with us. Pro basketball talk at NBCSports.com. He was at, what is the name of the arena? Is it Crypto? What do they call it?
Crypto.com Arena.
It is Crypto. Yeah. Okay. These things change so much. Crypto.com Arena. Last night for the Lakers and the Warriors, with the Lakers obviously being without LeBron James and really being without defense.
Yeah.
And again, which it feels like is going to be sort of a theme throughout the year. And the Warriors look good. I mean, look, health is going to be an issue for this team throughout the year. I like what I saw out of Kuminga in this game. Butler played well. You get what you get from Curry. And you sort of mix it all up. And I know the Warriors think they're in contention and that they could be a contender this year. But what did you see in game number 1 from them that gives you hope or despair one way or the other?
No, I came out with more hope. I'm higher on them after watching this game. And granted, I think this game was an encapsulation of what they need to go right for them. First off, Curry was Curry, and his gravity was there. But to use Steve Kerr's words, Jimmy Butler settles them down. This is a team that, famously with Curry and Green like to play in chaos, right? They want it fast, they want it crazy, but you can't live in chaos. You can't, especially over 82, but even in any one game, Jimmy Butler does what Andre Iguodala, what Sean Livingston did, which is settle this team down, right? Gets to the line, gets into the paint, gets into more traditional sets, attacks his guy. I thought that part of it was fantastic. Kuminga played and it fit into a role the best I've ever seen him, and it was huge for them. If they get him to play into that style, play into that role, and fit that, he's going to be fantastic for them. And I think the whole thing came together. They looked really good, and they knew what the Lakers didn't have, which included LeBron James, and were able to exploit it.
It's funny that you say playing chaos, because when I watch the Rockets, to go back to them for a second, that feels like a team that's always playing in chaos. It feels like very few offensive sets, that they're just sort of running around, making it up, freelancing as they go along, and it winds up in somebody's hands near the basket, and they're able to score. So I get the idea of what you're saying about playing in chaos. Go ahead, Sam.
So Kurt, you mentioned a couple of times in there the LeBron-less aspect of the Lakers, and I want to get to the Lakers on the whole in a second. But in terms of the LeBron thing, first of all, just some crazy statistics here. The last time the NBA had an opening night without LeBron, Kelly Clarkson had just won American Idol. USB flash drives did not exist. Chappelle's show had not been launched, and neither had Facebook. That's how long this guy's playing in the NBA. From a LeBron perspective, before we get to the Lakers, do you think this is the end of the ride this season? And do you think that he finishes this season in a Laker uniform?
By the way, Sam, my favorite LeBron stat, there are 84 players in the league right now that were not born until after he had started and made his NBA debut.
Wow.
Like, it's been that long. I don't know if this is the end of the ride. Let's put it this way. I don't think he wants this to be the end of the ride. And if it is, it's because the physicality, the physical issues kind of force it on him.
Catches up with everybody eventually.
Right.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to leave the game that way. He wants to leave as, look, Kobe fought back from an Achilles to be there. But even Draymond Green after the games went on a 5-minute rant about how crappy sciatica is and like what a pain it is to get over and how hard. So the old guys were bonding. But that was after, by the way, Draymond gave the line of the night, which is like, LeBron was sitting over there in street clothes in his the old man LeBron was over there in his street clothes in his Phil Jackson chair, was how he put it, which was just brilliant. I think LeBron ends the season with the Lakers. By the way, I'll throw in for the same reason Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to end this season with the Bucks. In the modern NBA, it is too hard to trade a $50 million guy mid-season and make it work under the tax aprons and all the restrictions that teams are under. So LeBron's only going to want to go to a couple places, Cleveland, New York, maybe there's somewhere else I'm not thinking of. Both of those teams are up against financial. Cleveland's over the second apron. New York's up against one of the tax lines they can't break. So, it's just hard logistically to pull it off in season anymore with that big a thing. So I think he ends there, and I don't think he wants this to be the last year. This is LeBron. He wants a tour, man. He wants the farewell tour.
I'm so glad you brought up the Knicks. Can you explain to me how Mitchell Robinson is being held out for load management before night one of their season? I want to throw something right now.
Bill, you and a couple of Knicks fans, and I'll tell you, by the way, you're frustrated because Laker fans' reaction right now, last night was, hey, the Dodgers are good. World Series starts Friday. Like they've got somewhere else to go. It's an issue, but ultimately that team needs Mitchell Robinson. They need him.
Yeah.
They need him for 60 games this year. More importantly, they need him for the playoffs. This is not the deepest team, especially along the front line, and their defense just isn't good enough without him there. With all due respect to OG Anunoby and Bridges and the fact that Mike Brown is going to put motion in the offense. And by the way, he has shown, I didn't know this was in the rule book, but you can play guys after guy 8 on the bench. You can still play the other guys. It turns out it's legal. So with all that, Mitchell Robinson is an absolute hub for them. And take this, I guess, as a sign they're going to baby him all season because they have to.
Hurt. People keep talking about the Orlando Magic. We have a minute left. Tell me, did the Orlando Magic do enough in getting Desmond Bane and paying him all of the monies to become a real contender this year?
I have them third, and I think they could bump to contender status if it all comes together. Look, they won 41 games and looked threatening last year, and Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner each had matching oblique injuries that missed large chunks of the season. Jalen Suggs was out and is still out. If this whole thing comes together, elite defense, if they can get good offense, it doesn't even have to be elite, just somewhere between 10th and 15th in the league, then they're in the mix because of that defense and because, look, Paolo and Franz are just hard to guard. Just hard to guard. So if the shooting's there, Tyus Jones is there, which is another big pickup. I like them a lot, but they've got something to prove to show they can get where the Knicks and the Cavaliers are.
Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com, will join us on Wednesdays throughout the season, which is underway. Kurt, always appreciate you, my friend. Enjoy the action tonight. I will be texting you when the Knicks are beating the Cavaliers.
I look forward to that.
Welcome back to the show. Good to have you with us on this Wednesday. We move from the NBA to the NFL. Say hello to this guy. The one and only Nick Ferguson is here, ladies and gentlemen. Former NFL safety. Catch him on YouTube with the Nick Ferg Show. You see his social media handle there for X. It's the same on IG and TikTok as well, if you want to get at him there. So when I hit collaborate on the Instagram post that I'm going to put up for the clip from this segment, you will be sure to accept that collaboration because here we are collaborating, right?
Yes, and I believe the kids call it IG, not Instagram. Yes, just to be correct.
Why not the gram? Can we just go with the gram?
Oh my gosh!
Can we do that?
Just me. Hey guys, it's just me here at the Unction with these two.
Nick, talk to me about. Look, you're in the belly of the beast there in Denver. You're a media personality in that city. Would you rather be former NFL safety or media personality? So give me a thought here on what we saw on Sunday because I almost drove off the road listening to it. I was monitoring the games as I was driving back from Palm Springs, and I even texted you. It was like 19-0 Giants. Yeah. I texted you that my fraud prediction on the Broncos had come to pass. And then before I know it, it's 33-32, and I mean literally I was gobsmacked at what took place.
Yeah, it was one of those what the hell just happened type of moments. And I'll tell you, man, I was sitting next to a bunch of Broncos alum because it was alumni weekend. Demaryius Thomas went into the Ring of Fame. And if you had a mic in that room to hear what was happening for the first 3 quarters, man, the FCC would have fined everyone because it was so upset. It got to a point where the Broncos were inside the 5-yard line. They handed the ball to J.K. Dobbins for the first run. The next 3 plays were all passes. And then they threw a screen pass, which is the staple or has become the staple of Sean Payton's offense, to Cortland Sutton. And then a Giant safety just smacked him right in the face. And then immediately after that, the crowd started to boo. And I was like, holy crap, we in it right now. Because the first 3 quarters, I mean, say whatever you want to say about DC for the Giants. I think his name is Shane Boone, I believe. And I mean, everyone was criticizing him after the game, saying, well, it was his fault because the Giants lost the game. For 3 quarters, they dominated Sean Payton's offense. I mean, I'm talking about totally dismantled their offense. It seemed as though one or two things. Either Sean is becoming, too relevant, I mean, where people can tell what he's doing, or the Giants had the game plan before the game. Either way, it was a total cluster, you-know-what, for the Denver Broncos. But along came the fourth quarter, and Demaryius Thomas sitting there with God said, you know what? Let's this field goal, this extra point, let's make sure he misses it a little bit. And it just seemed as though maybe someone just blew it and just went the opposite way. It was like, yes, okay. Then it happened again. It's like, oh my God. And then you looked at the tip drill, not at the Shoe Model Club, but the tip drill that took place for both teams was unreal. There's no way that anyone could have told me that in one game you would have 2 tip passes that went for touchdowns. That one to Theo Johnson, I could not believe, talking about being Johnny on the spot. And the same thing happened earlier for Troy Franklin when the ball came off the hands of Cortland Sutton. I was like, yo, this game is unreal. But I'll tell you this as a Giants fan, the Giants really have something. Those 2 young dudes, Cam Scatterbull and Jackson Dart, holy smoke. If the Giants, and I'm saying you guys because
you guys, I'm not on the team, Nick.
Yes, because I know you're a Giants fan. But listen, if they add more talent from the offensive standpoint as far as wide receiver weapons, oh my God. You actually can you really get it on?
There we go. There we go.
There you go. There you go. Get your Cam Scatterbull on and bang your head against the wall. No, don't do that. But the Giants have something. It was a crazy, crazy game. And the stadium, half of the stadium had left, right? Because when it was 26-8, with 6 minutes left in the game, JP, 26-8. The first thing I was thinking, like, I know Bo Nix isn't Tom Brady, but could he do a Tom Brady-esque type of situation? Yes. And that interception by Justin Sternard, you can find it at Nick Ferguson _25. I break it down for you. If Jackson Dart on the 3rd and 5, if he just runs, instead of trying to throw into the Bellinger, if he just runs, the game is over. But here's the bigger issue. Bigger issue here. Brian Dable, the Broncos didn't have that many timeouts. Run the damn football. Run the football.
There should have been no time. There should have been no time on the clock when the Giants scored that touchdown, by the way.
Hey, I mean, listen, you can blame everyone you want to. Everything goes back to the head coach, offensive coordinator. And that's why Brian Dable was so upset. You saw his mannerism because he blew the game. Run the ball. Run the freaking ball.
Sam, you got a quick one?
I mean, let's see if we can fit it in a minute, Nick.
I'm sorry, Sam, for eating up all the time.
No, don't be.
You're good. That's why we keep you around for multiple segments on this show. But obviously, the post-game pressers, there were shots flying everywhere. I was dodging shrapnel like that. Sean Payton and Russell Wilson, what'd you make of it all?
You know what? I thought that Sean Payton shouldn't have gone that far. Just talk about Jackson Dart. You didn't have to turn the conversation about Jackson Dart into something about Russell Wilson. Now, some people here feel as though, well, no, that was a little overblown and everyone is reading too much into it. I'm just like, no, I know what I heard, but it didn't need to be said. But no one thought that Russell would clap back as he did because Russell wants to stay on brand. Russell is always about being the nice guy, not playing the villain. And then he decided, you know what? Enough is enough. And shots were fired. Now, national people are applauding Russ for finally standing up and saying something, but Broncos fans are now going in on Russ because they don't know all the story about what's happened behind the scenes.
And I think that is like we have 15 seconds, but have you heard anything that would lead you to believe that there actually is bad blood there that'll last forever?
Oh, yeah, this is like a Taylor Swift song for real. For real. Yes. No joke. It is for real. I mean, hey, look, we all know what it is, so I'll just leave it there.
No, we don't all know what it is, and I want to know, but I've only got 10 seconds left in this segment, so
ran out of time.
No, we've got another segment with our friend Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, who's going to hang out with us for one more segment, and I want to see his reaction to what I say to start the next segment. That's next. Welcome back to this Wednesday edition of the show. Thrilled, as always, to be joined by our friend Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety, former Bronco there in Denver, the belly of the beast. You see Nick's handle there on X. It's the same on TikTok and IG. Just make sure we say it correct. Sam will pistol whip me. Also, with our friend Nick Ferguson on YouTube with his YouTube show, The Nick Ferg Show. You can check that out as well. I want to see your reaction when I say the following. The Kansas City Chiefs are still going to win that division.
Say what?
Yeah. They are.
Oh, okay. Now put
Kansas
it in
City Chiefs are
context
still. The Kansas City Chiefs are still going to win that division.
Put it in context, though.
What context do I need? They are the best team in that division.
Well, let's pump our brakes on that one.
Everybody knows I already think Denver that the Broncos are frauds. And nothing that happened on Sunday, by the way, has changed my mind on the fact that I think the Broncos are frauds. Not to say they don't make the playoffs or anything like that. They're having one of those seasons.
Why are they frauds?
Listen,
you said they're frauds. Why?
Because I don't think they're as good as their record would indicate. And you've seen it. You've seen how at various times this year, that team has been propped up by the defense. Offensively, they go through stretches that are more than frustrating. And look, in a year where I think the NFL as a whole is mid, the entire league is mid, this is just one of those years. And Sam and I discussed this earlier in the week on the show. I think Denver is just part of that mid bunch. And I don't even think they're part of the upper echelon of that mid bunch when you sort of stack them up with some of the other teams around the league. That's just my opinion.
Okay, you're right. That's just your opinion.
Yeah.
And I'll give you this. From the offensive standpoint.
You don't like them offensively.
Wait a minute. They have not shown up to the party. But you, as a Giants fan, you saw what the fourth quarter looked like. 33 points in the fourth quarter. So you know what they're capable of. We just haven't really seen
the Giants collapse. That was as much about the Giants.
Wait. You just can't say the Giants collapse. They scored points.
Yes, I can.
They got stops, right? They got stops. And they scored points. So they're capable of scoring points. You know why? Because once the Broncos go hurry up, that's kind of when their offense get their juice. That's where a guy like Bo Nix plays well. Now, the head coach, offensive coordinator, he may not want to run hurry up or up-tempo offense, but it actually works. And if he does, you'll see more production from the offense. But now you talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. See, here's what we still know. Defense still wins championship. If you can't score, you can't win the game. And the Broncos defense, I dare say, is better than the Kansas City defense. Now, when those two teams meet up, and they're going to meet up twice, then that's going to be the tale of the tape.
And I think Kansas City's going to win both those games, by the way, I predict.
Okay. Well, maybe you and your Giants bag right now, and that's probably why you're saying that.
Not at all.
Upset. Wait. But okay, I'll let that slide. But I'll tell you this, though. See, for Broncos and all the other teams in the NFL, they're competing against the Chiefs and the officials, right? We know that by now.
Oh, Lord.
Right? We know that by now. So if you're saying that the Chiefs are 2 games or whatever better than the Denver Broncos, of course. When you got the kickstand of the league officials helping you out, how can you not be better than most of the teams?
Living rent-free in your head, man. They're living rent-free in your head. And we got more to get to with Nick Ferguson, and Sam's got some questions, and we'll get to that coming up in just a moment. But first, I got to tell you about our friends over at taxonsale.com. You know that time of the year. And everybody knows me. I'm all about a sale. But you know what never goes on sale? Taxes. Taxes never go on sale. They're always full price. At least that's what I thought. Now, the folks at taxonsale.com have figured out how to get taxes on sale. It may not work for everyone, but if you have a C corporation or the passive owner of a business, they can help you find and utilize tax credits that'll reduce the cost of your taxes. Tax on sale. How much do you save? Well, every taxpayer will be a little different, but the savings can be 8 to 10% or more. Check them out on the web. See if you qualify. Where on the web, you might ask? It's easy. Taxonsale.com. Check them out today. Taxonsale.com. It's the best thing ever. It's tax on sale. Go ahead, Sam.
Nick, you said something so interesting in that last that last answer that I wanted to harp on. You saw this weekend out of the Broncos, but also all season out of a team like the Buccaneers, these teams that are incredibly successful in late game situations, but generally are struggling in quarters 1 through 3. I was talking to somebody in the football world yesterday, and I postulated that we've seen in the past, and I think it's been like 5 years since we saw the last team do it, but when teams are struggling to find offensive rhythm, what they'll do for even games at a time is run constant hurry up. They'll run out of the 2-minute drill almost like a college-style offense. Do you think there's any chance in this year's NFL we see any team do that?
Well, I'm not sure it goes back to the offensive coordinator, but I can tell you as a guy that coached and played, that puts a lot of stress on the defense, right? And then when you think about how your brain actually works, right? You need oxygen going through to your brain. When you're tired, I'm telling you, man, you cannot think. I know there's this idea by a lot of old school coaches that, well, you know what? That's not sustainable. Well, why is it not sustainable? Just because you say that it's not and you don't want to do it because that's not how you learned, that's not how you were taught. Look at the quarterbacks we now have in the NFL. Not a lot of these guys are your typical traditional statuesque quarterbacks. All of these guys are very athletic and they put pressure on the defense. And could you imagine trying to defend a guy like Lamar Jackson or a guy like, Josh Allen? That is hell on wheels for defensive guys because we don't know if he's going to run or we don't know if he's going to pass. And that opens up so much down the field that quarterback can take advantage of.
We got to go. I'm out of time. But I've got a bonus segment thing that I'm going to throw out at you that may get as equally as visceral a reaction as I did when I said the Chiefs were going to beat the Broncos twice. Nick, appreciate you. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. A couple of more NBA games tonight as the season opens up. I want to talk win totals, too. Sam Yarnell. There was news from baseball, even though the World Series doesn't get started till Friday. By the way, I know why, and they got to set up all these dates, but what a buzzkill just having to sit here and wait till Friday. Now, the week of build-up to the Super Bowl is one thing, 2 weeks. A week of build-up to the World Series I do not need. But I do like the fact that everybody's pitching will be in order and everybody's rested, and it'll certainly help the Blue Jays when it comes to getting Bo Bichette back on the field. Who knows what he looks like, which is something we actually discussed off-air in a bonus segment yesterday with our friend Cameron Maben, who hung out with us on the show. We got to put that clip up on the YouTube channel, the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel. You'll see that there later today. All right, Sam, the Angels make a move as the offseason coaching carousel goes into motion. And it's not the move that I think a lot of us were anticipating with all the conversation surrounding them potentially bringing in Albert Pujols, who they had spoken to about their open managerial position. Well, instead, the team tabs Kurt Suzuki to be their next manager. A nice major league catcher, played in the league for a while, retired in 22, served as a special assistant under Perry Manassian over there with the Angels for the last few years. So certainly has been around the team, but if you were going to make a splash in this offseason as an Angels organization that desperately needs some splash in a city where it doesn't even feel like you're the second team, it almost feels like you're an afterthought, despite the fact that you have one of the greatest players of all time. I don't know if Kurt Suzuki's moving the needle for anybody, but I guess we'll find out what he is as a manager soon enough.
Yeah, I think the Angels made it pretty clear to you throughout the entirety of their managerial search. They wanted to go with a stalwart of the organization in terms of the fan base between Albert Pujols and Kurt Suzuki. And there was another former player who was in the mix for that from the Angels from the early 2000s, and I don't remember who it was at this point. But yeah, Kurt Suzuki obviously spent his most formidable years with the Angels. It was a fan base that loved Kurt Suzuki. He was like, the plain bagel that was on the side of every breakfast that they had every day for however many years. That's what Kurt Suzuki was. And the thing is, Kurt Suzuki being a very smart baseball guy and obviously a catcher, it shows, right? And obviously spending so much time in that Angels front office, now taking the step to manager feels like it shouldn't be as big of a leap as it is for other new managerial candidates. I'm looking at you, Tony Vitello. My favorite part in all of this, obviously, being the diehard Washington Nationals fan that I am, is that 2019 World Series champion Kurt Suzuki is now the manager of 2019 World Series champion Anthony Rendon, and I think that's something that we're not talking about enough.
God, is Anthony Rendon still in the league? Does he still play? I didn't even know. I wouldn't even know. I thought he was
still
just collecting
$30 million a year.
I thought he was like the modern day Bobby Bonilla, just going to get paid forever, despite the fact that he really doesn't do anything. What'll be interesting now is where Pujols actually lands. because there had been talk while the whole Angels thing was going on. There was talk that the Orioles were interested, but I don't know if they had interviewed him at that point. There's also talk about the Padres potentially jumping into the fray. And I wonder if either of those spots, how much they make sense for him, Sam.
I don't know.
Do you want that Padres? I mean, look, here's an interesting thing. If you are Pujols and you've been presented with both, the question I would ask you is, which one do you want? And I think the initial answer would be, well, it's got to be the Padres. I mean, the Padres, talented team. They go to the playoffs. Orioles coming off this, blah sort of season. But when you really dig down into it and think about it, do you really want the Padres job, given the division you play in? The fact that, it's hard enough just to be the second best team in that division, let alone the third, that it almost feels like you're automatically playing for a wild card every year. Or would you rather go to an Orioles team that has a lot of young talent? Okay, they had a down year this year, but poised to sort of bounce back next year. I don't know, Sam. I don't know what the answer is. The Padres are going to spend. They're always going to make the bold move, even if it's not necessarily the right move, and that remains to be seen in the case of some of these things they've done. Or would you rather go to the Orioles, who did nothing last offseason, if anything got worse by subtraction? I think it's a difficult decision if you're Albert Pujols. Maybe it isn't.
I don't know that it's one that he needs to make, right? I think Albert Pujols... and man, this is just going to speak to how much I love this guy, which I don't really talk about a lot, but he was, before the Nationals were my love, he was my favorite baseball player on earth. I think at one point I had 7 different Albert Pujols jerseys. Listen, Albert Pujols is at a weird spot in his life. Obviously, I can't relate to it, but a lot of adults out there and like middle-aged people out there watching can. His youngest kid just moved out of the house, right? His son is playing professional golf. This is the first time since he's retired that he doesn't actually have to be a full-time dad. It seems to me like there may have been a part of Albert Pujols that was like, what am I going to do with all this downtime? Maybe it'll be fun to manage the team that I used to play for. They don't have lofty expectations. And now that job's gone. Do I think that Albert Pujols is guaranteed to take another managerial job in this coaching cycle? I don't know. It seemed like he was a perfect fit for the Angels. I don't know if he's a perfect fit anywhere else, especially on a team that's trying to compete for a World Series as soon as next year.
Is he coaching in the World Baseball Classic again? Do we know? I don't know. Well, I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not sure. And that could obviously keep him busy for a couple of weeks. I didn't know his son played golf professionally. It's pretty wild. See? Did you know? The Sports Wrap with Jason Page edition. We've got odds and ends right around the corner to wrap things up. Don't go anywhere.
He is.
Just about time to put the wraps on this baby for a Wednesday. Before we say goodbye, a couple of reminders. If you haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. You can listen to this show in all its glory, 45 minutes, crystal clear audio, Monday through Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon, anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show. While you're in the shower, planes, trains, automobiles, on the treadmill, laying in bed, we don't care. We just want you to listen and subscribe. So make sure to do that. We also have the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel, the go-to place for all things Sports Wrap. If you have not checked it out yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. We've got shows there Monday through Friday. We have Sports Wrap shorts there 7 days a week, anytime news breaks. Yesterday, Kurt Suzuki gets the Angels job. Boom! We're right there with a Sports Wrap short. Thanks to all of you that checked it out across all social media platforms. Sports Wrap available on Instagram, TikTok, the Facebook, the face space, whatever Bill Belichick likes to call it, and over on YouTube as well. Sports Wrap with Jason Page, the YouTube channel. Go and subscribe to it today. And without any further delay on this Wednesday, time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends, Sam Yarnell, NBA opening tip, opening week continues on Wednesday night with the Knicks and the Cavaliers meeting up at Madison Square Garden. Can somebody explain to me, and I referenced this with Kurt earlier, somebody explain to me how Josh Hart isn't playing already, how Mitchell Robinson's on load management. Load management, it's game one. What load are you managing? Congratulations to Prime Video and NBC. You inherit load management, the era of load management. But hey, don't worry. Michael Jordan's going to go on NBC next week and tell you what he thinks of load management. I will be waiting with breath that is bated, Sam Yarnell.
A Tom Thibodeau team going into opening night with an injury report that includes Karl Anthony Towns, OG Anunoby, Mitchell Robinson, and Josh Hart is simply unacceptable. I'm sorry. I thought I said enough about the New York Knicks after the last playoffs ended. Clearly I didn't. Not enough changed. I don't know if I should have expected it to, with James Dolan still being the owner of that team, as hands-off as he pretends to be. Yeah, okay. No, this is flat out ridiculous, especially in an Eastern Conference this year that's as open as it ever has been. To start a season like this is flat out unacceptable.
Knicks plus 1.5.
Like I'll always go ahead.
Knicks plus 1.5 tonight.
Yeah,
at home
no
for the Cavaliers.
shot. Wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole. And this is against a Cleveland team that's got their own injury.
Darius Garland is hurt. Yeah.
Right, and their own laundry list of injuries headed into the season, right? Now, this game screams stay away in every single direction if you are looking to bet it. But man, again, two of the franchises that coming into the season you're thinking, wow, this is an Eastern Conference that both of these teams could go and get. And now this is how they're both starting the season. Just kind of a letdown to see on October 22nd, Jason.
Nets and Hornets meet up tonight. The Heat and Magic, the Battle of Florida. You get that one tonight. Sixers and Celtics.
Got some agita just from you mentioning the Nets and the Hornets playing each other in a basketball game. Oh my gosh.
Could that be like one of those opening night games that doesn't even sell out? Like, will the Hornets even sell out that game tonight? Seriously. Sixers and Celtics. By the way, Dodgers, can you sell out your playoff games, please? Can you sell out your playoff games? I mean, hopefully you could sell out World Series games. Sixers and Celtics tonight. Raptors and Hawks. We'll look at win totals. Yesterday we were talking on the show about various odds and bets and things like that we like for the upcoming NBA season. And we were having some fun with that. Most regular season wins this year. The Thunder minus 140, Sam Yarnell. The Cavaliers plus 440. The Nuggets plus 850. The Knicks plus 1,100. The Rockets plus 1,500. Believe it or not, the sixth best odds for most wins in the NBA this year are the Orlando Magic at 17-1. Which is, wow.
People are very high. People are very high on the Orlando Magic coming into this year. And again, back to my point, right? In an Eastern Conference that seems wide open. Then again, Jason, it's the Orlando Magic. You and I have watched this team for the last 10 years. Eventually, it's not going to work out. Whether that be, a month before the playoffs or in the first round of the playoffs, that's not a team that I trust to make noise. I will say a market where I am interested in the Orlando Magic is the NBA Cup. I know they were a little bit let down in the NBA Cup last year because of the Banchero injury. I think that this is a team that could actually be live in an NBA Cup setting when you talk about the Orlando Magic.
I like it.
That is where I'd be looking to back them rather than season-long NBA championships where everyone seems to love them.
I like it. 11-1 on the Magic for the NBA Cup if you want to, if you feel so inclined to go after something like that. To win 60-plus games, the Thunder minus 310. They are the only minus money to win 60-plus games this year. Cavaliers plus 168. The Nuggets plus 320. If you're looking at that, the Knicks plus 400. The Knicks aren't winning. There is no way the Knicks are winning 60 games this year.
These numbers make my brain hurt, man. It's like no one understands the ratio of how likely something actually is to the odds that we should be getting for it. Do you know how hard it is to win 60 games in the NBA in this era?
Yeah,
ridiculous numbers.
It's true. We're out of time. Thank you to Nick Ferguson, former NFL safety. Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Thanks to you, Sam. That's going to do it for us. We'll see you back here on Thursday. for an all-new edition of Sports Wrap. I'm Jason Page. Bye-bye.